How's everybody doing? hmm I'm so sorry, everybody. Trying to make this right. Nah. Okay. How's everybody doing? Okay. Um, a couple of announcements that I have to make. Um, First of all, I'm canceling the incompatibility and compatibility of signs. I've already done two videos that have been duplicated. And I keep careful notes and records. And me and my management team somehow have overlooked the fact that we have made these videos. So we are going to postpone any further videos of compatibility and compatibility of signs. There's only 3 left on the Cancer, and I believe there's 5 left on the Pisces. After that, we're done with the compatibility and incompatibility of signs. But the fact that we duplicated 2 videos that were already done cost us a lot of money and time. So I've decided to suspend further videos of the compatibility and incompatibility of signs until my management team uh, clear this out and the size. Someone said that in my YouTube. Scorpio, thank you, Mr. Scorpio. You know, I do have a system of the playlist, and I actually have proposed that. And now my management team under Corinne Green is now going to provide the playlist, which I have proposed months ago. To because I can't do it all. It's just a lot of work. So until that's done, I'm postponing the compatibility and incompatibility of sign because I cannot afford to do another third duplicate of videos. So today we are going to begin the new series, and I've taken many of your advices. Many of you wanted sun moon combination. Other wanted me to do a ascendant sun sign combination, which I have in my website, the People's Astrologer. People rarely go to my website where I have all of this in writing. But I think people prefer the videos rather than reading it. Okay? So understand, oh, I just got a notification here. Okay. Understand that first of all, I enjoy doing the Moon series. I'm gonna miss that. I'm gonna miss that. Okay, but equally as exciting is the new series that I'm about to do, which is the Venus and Mars combination. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. I didn't get a lot of love when I did the Moon Sign series. I didn't get a lot of donations when I did that series. And you have to understand that it's a reciprocal of energy. So I'm going to do things differently with this series. I'm going to start one video at a time. And I'm going to watch the donation. If I don't get the donation, I'm not doing the next video until I do. And the minimum should be 100 per video. Out of my 20,000 subscribers, I don't think that's hard to obtain for every video. Okay? Otherwise, I will not continue and I will cancel it altogether because it's a lot of money. You have to understand that until I get to 30,000 subscribers where I'm home free, where I don't have to be charging you, then I can do all your requests and all the videos you want, but I'm getting paid monthly by you guys by paid subscription. But I'm not there yet. So you are going to have to provide the money if I provide the content. So this series I'm going to do differently. So it's up to you. If you want to see it happening every day, you have to donate every day. That's just the law of business. And also, it's also the law of reciprocity. That has to be done. If I'm that good and that unique, then you will pay for it. Because there's nobody else doing what I'm doing. And this is knowledge that we need now in the Aquarian age. And I don't have a benefactor or an angel that will give me a boom of money. That would be great. The only one that did that was my brother Bruce in Chelmsford, who gives me balloon monies like that. But that's like family. So, and you guys are like family because we're moving into the Aquarian age. It's a cosmic family. The world has become that much smaller since the advent of the internet. So it's reciprocal energy. Also, if you guys need anything, any prayer, any light directed at you, that's what shamans are here to do. And we can do that by remote viewing. We don't have to have a picture of you or have you in person for us to project that energy onto you to help you. That Jesus Christ talked about that. We can help each other and heal each other from the darkest and the distance of places. That you don't have to be within a proximity for a miracle to occur and work. Okay? So, having said that, without further ado, I'm now going to introduce the new series, which is Venus and Mars. Okay? Now, Venus and Mars. And look, this took me work. That's why I didn't this is my logbook for the compatibility and incompatibility of signs. See, Gemini, Aquarius, Cancer, Leo. You see the X? I've completed these series. So I keep a log of all the videos that I do, right? And the one that is missing, that I still got a lot to do, as you can see, so I can show you. Oh, the light. Here, you see the number 12 up here? Right? That's Pisces, the 12th sign. Here I got Aries, Taurus. You see Gemini is missing Pisces. Cancer is missing Pisces. Over here, you see Sagittarius missing Pisces. Capricorn and Pisces was done, part 1 and 2. Aquarius and Pisces I just did, which you guys claim that I've already done. So that bothers me, because I have it in my logbook. So Pisces is the only sign zodiac where I'm missing 4 or 5 videos, part 1 and 2. And the other one is Cancer. A lot of people say that I don't give love Cancer. Well, here's Cancer. And I've done a lot for Cancer. See? I'm only missing Gemini, Cancer, 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 which some of you said I didn't do. Sag and Sag, which also some of you said I didn't do. And then we got Pisces and Cancer. So these are being under review to make sure that we don't do a third duplication, or otherwise it'll be a fine upon me. Okay, so there's money involved here. So now let me show you the this is the new series. See? The lighting makes it difficult because I don't know if you're looking at this correctly. Okay? I got Mars and Venus. And I have all of the signs. See? It's all written out. Aries, Taurus. That's Aries. Taurus, Gemini. Right? And then it goes on until I do the rest of them. So I've done it from Aries to this alone to write the log down. As you can see, I'm very detailed. The log itself took hours and days to put together. And that time is money. So I'm not going to assert this anymore because I don't like talking about money and stuff like that, but it is a business. Okay, so if you want this to continue, I won't discuss this again, but now you know every video that I do has to have a donation attached to it, or that will determine whether I'm in the air or not, and how long I stay off the air or on the air. Okay, so before I begin going into Venus and Mars combinations, let me discuss the nature and function of Venus and Mars. For me to discuss that first, I have to go into details about one more planet which we can never do without and always configure in every astrological delineation. And that is that of the moon. The moon plays a very, 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 very important role. Ooh. You gotta have the music going. This is Colombian, mountain music. Because it sets the tone and it allows me to soothe with the voices of the archives. You have to have something to like offset it. Here, of course, my watermelon martini. Venus. Venus represents affected feelings. Feelings that you feel from within. These feelings are not projected outwardly. These feelings stay inside. Venus represents the feelings that we feel concerning the minutiae and the little things of life. For example, if I have Venus in Aries and I'm in a car with a bunch of other guys, right? And we're driving, at 55 miles an hour. Nice scenery, but we got somewhere to go. The Venus in Aries person versus the other people that are in that car that might have Venus somewhere else and not in Aries will be restless and bored. He will have an inner world of himself, but this is true of any Venus placing of the signs. But you will see that person come alive in that car if suddenly the driver begins to speed. He presses the accelerator and he begins to speed. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to feel the Venus in person come alive. Now he might be smiling. Or he might be more engaging, whereas before he was brooding in silence while everybody else is doing their own thing in the car. You've been in that situation. Everybody in the same car. We're like a road trip. There's always one that's quiet and not saying nothing. Well, he may have the Venus in Aries. Now, if there's an argument or there's a sudden ignition of energy and drama, now the person with the Venus in Aries is stimulated. So Venus represents internal feelings that no one around you, provided that you're within proximity of people, will take notice. Now, let's talk about the moon for a moment. You see, the moon also rules feelings, but not in the same degree. Not in the same degree that Venus does. And Venus emotions are totally different than the feelings of the moon. And people don't understand that. So I'm going to break it down to you. We're not doing the combinations now. This is a reprieve before I begin. So in the next video, I will go into the reprieve, into the actual series. But this is a reprieve. And that's a freebie to you. Then I'm going to do part 1. And then I'm going to wait for the love. And if I get the right love, then I will continue with part 2. So that's how we're going to do this. So let us go into the function of Venus and the function of the moon. And I have to explain the function of the moon and the function of Venus for you to make sense. So when you go into these websites and you look at these websites that talk about Venus and Mars and all the different combinations there are, I don't know how seasoned these astrologers are, if they're even my age or older, because if any astrologer that's 50 years of age and older is an astrologer you should trust. Because it's not about just the astrological knowledge, it's also about the life experience. It all ties in. Otherwise, I've no value to you. I'll be just reading something. I might as well go to another website that talks about astrology and just reiterate to you what's on other sites. It means nothing. This knowledge means nothing if it's not coupled with experience. Experience that gives life to the meanings of these planets and the science and all of that we to make sense out of it, because it is a fabric that creates a picture. We just don't know what that picture is, but we all play a role in the creating and the weaving of the mosaic of that fabric. And if you break things into their component parts, you're going to see that there is a pattern behind the pattern. And this is true of any analytical delineation of anything in life. Astrology is no different. So, the moon, right? And Venus. There's a reason why the circle represents the moon, but yeah, we have another circle with the cross, upside down cross, which is Venus. So the moon is emotional, right? But Venus is also emotional. I don't know how to do this right. Okay? This is emotional. It's the circular aspect of the moon. And here's the moon. Another circular aspect. The moon goes through what we call lunar phases, right? 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 We have the full moon or new moon that we have, if we color it from one shade to another, we have what's called the first quarter and the second quarter. I discussed this earlier in the series when I was doing, let me see if I can find it here. Remember these cards? That's the full moon. But if you cover it, if you cover half of it, that's the first quarter. If you cover the other half, it's the second quarter. And then you have third and fourth quarter, which is the third and fourth quarter, which is the full and new moon. And then you have what's called the lunar phases. Okay? The lunar phases, they change on you. They get lighter. They get lighter as you approach the full moon, or they get darker as you approach, the new moon. This is approaching a full moon. Going the other way is approaching a new moon, where it's black. Okay? Venus also has phases. And astrologers don't really talk about the phases of Venus. But if you talk to an occultist or someone who's a member of the secret societies, the club, we know the phases of Venus. We don't discuss the phases of Venus in astrology because, honestly, as astrologers, we still don't know much about it. Even to this day, 21st century, 2019, there are phenomena about the planets that we still don't understand. To this day, we could have understood it had the barbarians didn't burn down the Library of Alexandria or the Library of Timbuktu, where there was this great secret knowledge that was destroyed. This happened during the Scorpio age. And the knowledge that we carried from Atlantis, which was destroyed when the Atlantean civilization was destroyed, some of this knowledge made it to Egypt, to Greece, to Macedonia, to Anatolia, and to the Far East. But the conquering culture or tribe at that time, which was the rising Anglo race, managed to destroy and burn down these sacred knowledges in order for the cementing kingdom to take over, the old kingdom. Something that happens throughout human history and human anthropology. Every race has a chance to dominate the world. The black race at one point dominated the world, and we got great monuments to show for it. The Aryan white race is in control and in power now, and we see monuments to this culture's and race's greatness. Mount Rushmore, okay? The Washington Monument. We see evidences of the dominant culture cementing its presence on our planet. But we can hate because the black race did the same. The Asian, okay, all the races that had their day under the sun. Okay? And so, too, do the planets, the signs of the zodiac, the constellations. We all have a day under the sun to shine and rule. Well, in order to cement the new rulership of any conquering race or culture, you got to destroy the old. And unfortunately, when the Library of Alexandria was burned down to the ground, some of this knowledge was lost with it. And some of this knowledge of astrology that I could be telling you today, unfortunately, I cannot tell you because it was destroyed at the burning of that library. And all subsequent works of great men and women throughout the ages was destroyed by the church and by the conquering cultures of the time. So I can only award you what was left of the knowledge that we have and hope for the best. Toast to the remaining knowledge, and God bless us for that which we don't know, which has now been lost in antiquity. But there's still time to have fun. You gotta take it light. This was the age of Scorpio. Much destruction. When the Atlantean age got destroyed, that was also the age of Scorpio. Scorpio is no joke. That energy. And the people that carry such energy. So, understand that Venus represents inner feelings, inner yearnings, inner stirrings. Now listen to what I'm telling you. Inner yearnings, inner stirrings, and subjective reflected feelings. It's important that you get this straight. Because the moon is 100% different. Different. And psychological and socially motivational orientation than that of Venus. But yet I have to mention Venus. And I have to mention the moon here. Because they're both the moon is and then Venus got the stick. They're not that far. different in psychological orientation. Okay? The moon represents emotions that come out of you. What did I tell you? The secret is in the language. Emotion. E is a Latin prefix. It means out. And of course, you know that motion means movement. Outward motion. Outward movement. These are emotions that come out of you. I hate you. I hate you. Drop dead. I love you. I wish I could do that again. Emotions are feelings, which is Venus, but projected outward. That takes them out of the realm of Venus and into the moon. The feelings that stay inside are those governed by Venus. Do you understand now? Now that I've made that clear, now we can jump into the new series of Mars and Venus. Because now I have given you a clear definition of what it is. Because there are no sites out there in the internet that are giving you this and that are spelling it out to you. So I'm going to spell it out to you. Otherwise, you will have to pay for this if you speak to a professional astrologer. Understand what you're getting. Otherwise, it's something that you will have to pay because an astrologer will have to explain it to you, but not in an open forum like this. But we are non-profit. We are about educating the public. And then we live off the donations from the public. It's set up that way. It's not a for-profit business. So understand that you're not going to get this anywhere else unless you're going to heftily pay for it. Now, let's jump into the function of Mars. Mars, the planet Mars, has another function, and the Mars function, that's intense. The Mars function is intense. It is. Mars and I put Mars right along with the moon. Too much light. I just don't know how this is done. I can see it. So if I can see it, I think that you can see it. Okay. This is Mars. Mars is no different than the moon. Mars, in Latin, it means irritation, aggression, martes, the rolling of the R. Mars represents emotion as well. And if you want to be, if I'm going to be honest with you, the inner planets are all emotional. For the exception of Mercury. All the planets are emotional. For the exception of Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune. These three planets lay outside of Saturn's sphere. Saturn is the last planet before we get to these other three cosmic planets. So Saturn sets the boundary, and Saturn too has emotion in its makeup. All the moons of all the planets represent emotional energies. Jupiter got 62 moons. So there's a lot of emotional energy there. Saturn also has an equal amount, if not greater, amount of moons. The Earth only has one. So we all have moons. All the planets have moons to them. Like mother and father. Or like the children that are guided with their mothers and fathers. So understand that this is all a build-up, a system, a family. The human family, mother, father, children, son, daughter, house, dog. That same paradigm exists up in the heavens with the planets. The planets are the parents and the moons are its children. As above, so below. It's the same model. And if you look at it that way, you'll be able to understand the Bible. The Bible gives references to this type of and Arcturus moving in its seasons, guiding its children. It's talking about Arcturus, the planet, the constellation, guiding its children. What children? It's talking about the moons connected to that planetary system. Okay? You have to understand that language can be metaphorical and can hide and reveal all at the same time. The family structure that we see down here below is the same family structure that we see up in the heavens. So if the moon represents emotion, emotion that we express outwardly, and Venus represents inner affections that we don't show but we feel internally, then Mars is the planet that acts on these inner feelings of Venus or outer expressions of emotion, which is symbolized by the moon. So Mars becomes the midpoint of both Venus and the moon. So if you want to understand how to love, if you want to learn how to love, if you want to understand your partner and want him to love you, respect you, and cherish you, you need to look at the dynamic of the moon, Venus, and Mars. It's not just Venus and Mars. You have to look at the moon. Let me draw a diagram for simplicity. Okay. You have the moon, which symbolizes outward emotion. If this can work, there's always something stopping me or trying to stop me. And that's the devil. The devil. The devil. Speaking allegorically, because I don't believe in devils and I don't believe in demons. I already told you what they are. Okay? Doing a diagram here. And then you have it's the same emotion. It's the same emotion. Here you have the moon, circular. Here you have Venus, an extension of the moon. But here, the emotions become stationary. This symbolizes the hands and across the feet and the head. This represents a person, the undiluted and unmoved self. This is the part of self that stays in. And then there's a part of self that extends outward towards emotion, which is the moon. But what brings it from here to here is the actions of Mars. That this is the Trinity. This is the triad. And notice the pointed arrow here versus the arrow pointed downward here. This is an arrow. See? Now it's an arrow. No different than this arrow. But now, what's internal, Mars brings it outward. So the moon, Venus, and Mars are all connected. So if I'm to do you justice and really give you a definition of Venus and Mars, I have to include the moon because the moon is an extension of Venus. It's the inner emotions coming outward. And what brings it out is the agency and energy of Mars. And that completes the Trinity. Now, do you see why the number three is so important? Nothing happens at one. Nothing happens at two. At three is where all begins. Okay. So having said that, how do we continue and we delineate the functions of Venus and Mars in the context of human relationships? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So I hope you enjoyed this reprieve. And now we're going to jump right in the next video and do Aries, Mars and Aries, and Venus in Aries. Thank you guys very much. I'll talk to you soon.